Now then, people, good evening. Welcome back to the Just Joe football show. And I was going to say like another episode of The Final Word, but obviously it's a case of getting the gang back together. Like Sean says here, look, who needs the BAFTAs? This is a real awards, the Final Word Awards, not the Joeys. We're not calling them the Joeys. Yes, we're calling them, the Leeds United end of season awards. We're going to go through some categories. We're not all going to say settle on one. I just want us to talk through our favourite players, and maybe it'll create a discussion within the video and we can all have a chat about it. The categories are, and folks in the chat want you to get involved as well. Player of the season, goal of the season, breakout star, so for a player who unexpectedly rose to prominence or significantly improved their performance throughout the season, unsung hero, so for a player who may not grab headlines but was vital to the team's success, moment of the season, defining moment, can be anything personal to you as well, folks. It might be something you did when you were your friends when a certain goal went in or whatever. It doesn't have to be this. Best new signing and then fan favourite award. Someone who captured the hearts of supporters, but not necessarily was the best player of the season. So they're the categories we're going to go through. Don't stick them all in now. Hang fire and wait till we go through each one. Before we do, though, and I did want to ask the panel's thoughts on this, because it's been chewing me all day seeing the response to it. And Jeezy H has come straight in, first comment straight out of the back at 7:30. 39-year-old Milner, the hot topic at the moment. Heard it all before. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this, just briefly, just quickly. Like, I'm all over it, me, just because I think if there is an opportunity for that to be done, especially when you consider, say, Gulavogi's role within the side and Byram's role within the side, Milner does that. But then also, people forget, like, people are talking about him being washed and all this sort of stuff. He was signed last season from Liverpool by Brighton. They also want him to stay on. Yet people are telling me he's washed. Why? We're going to get relegated. Someone actually commented on my video for League One, maybe. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? He's won Champions League, Premier League, everything there is to win. And if there's an opportunity for us to sign him, I don't see why. And there's a reason why Brighton have given him a contract, like offered him a contract, and they're chasing Europe. Does anyone disagree, or does anyone have any thoughts on it?
No, I don't. I certainly don't disagree. I completely agree. And when we come on to one of the categories a little bit later on, you'll probably see why. I think it's probably a good idea to have somebody with that experience. But not only that experience, he's still a fucking good footballer. Do you know what I mean? He's fit as a fiddle. He wins all the bleep tests still every season. And 39-year-old. That the only reason people are put off is because of that number. If he was 30 or 33 or 34, he's had a fair share of injuries this season, which is probably one of the first seasons he's actually picked up a few injuries, but or sort of repetitive injuries. But no, I'd be all over it, and exactly the kind of man you want knocking about the dressing room. The only thing that might concern me is the amount of money he's going to be coming in on.
Yeah, fair. That's fair. Anyone? Any other?
It's a very simple question for me. Do people expect him to be like Joao Cancelo? To expect him like Nuno Mendes, like Tsimikas, Trent Alexander-Arnold? No. So that's a good signing. He's not going to be like the player that wins us games every Sunday. He's a 39-year-old footballer, but like Luke said, and you said, he's still playing well.
Mm-hmm.
He's an experienced player. He's Leeds. He deserves to end his career where it began. And honestly, it's also like we've seen the influence that certain players have, even if they are not consistently into the side this season and the season we went up with Bielsa. The name of Berardi is chanted every single game. That's an example. Milner, of course, he's not like Berardi because he can still play a part. Of course, not the breakout, the main signing of the summer. But if that happens, you had experience. You had a player that knows the environment, knows Leeds, that is a Leeds supporter too. So there's nothing against this signing, to be fair. Absolutely nothing. He's a player that has played in Champions League finals, player that has won titles, players that has played for England and multiple times. I can't remember. I think he has an 100 cap maybe or around that figure, So there's absolutely nothing against signing Milner. I'm on my side, 100%. Good signing.
It makes
absolute sense,
Go on, Lucky.
Yeah, didn't hurts to say as well the other day that or whenever
Yes.
it was, I saw you read it, Joe. About he still sets the standard in training at 39.
Yep, said that, yeah.
Players can extend their career now, especially ones that look after themselves. Look at every Prem team; they've all got 35-year-olds in there that are still playing every week.
Yeah.
Obviously he's not going to be that guy, but who better in the world of football for a Leeds United player is it best to have in the changing room
100%.
in the first season back in the Prem as a young man? Genuinely, he's won everything.
Exactly, and there's a little bit of, and I understand I am very sentimental, and I get that, but there is something poignant about him only needing 17 appearances to break Gareth Barry's record. It'd be awesome if he did it at Leeds, where it first started. Do you know what I mean? It would be class, but yeah. Jack, do you want to add? You don't need to, mate. We can move on if you like.
No, I'm game for it. I've said all season, the start of since we've known we've gone up. If you bring in, as long as it's an addition to us strengthening otherwise, I don't think anybody's saying that is our that's our centre midfielder or our right back come first game of the season next season. But in terms of setting standards, I don't think you can possibly get anybody like Milner, to be honest. No. I mean, anybody that's ever worked with him, which is not me, but anybody who hears speaking about him will always say, there was a joke about him, how sort of boring he was and how dedicated he is. And, there's that interview where he was saying about if the manager irritates him, he goes out onto the training field, and that is literally his outlet. That's how he gets through things. So, yeah, it'd be amazing. And the unfortunate thing that nobody liked to hear, but he'll probably end up getting a lot more minutes than anybody really wants him to get. So we'd end up using him significantly more, and people would be like, wow, what a signing that one. I don't mean ludicrous amount of minutes, but I just mean, featuring double-figure games, and you'd think, oh, it's fair enough. That's actually a really, decent signing. So, yeah, as long as it's an addition.
You also know that you're not going to get a dickhead joining the ranks. Do you know what I mean? He's one of them players. When you say, you look at Sinisterra, Tyler Adams, etc. You're going to be bringing somebody in that's going to just come and do a job, and he's going to be better known as the Gipton Gulavugi.
Yeah.
And
he's a Gulavugi also that can actually play football. Yeah.
From Rothwell. Is he Rothwell? Is he from Rothwell?
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to mention. Remember when Danny mentioned to the other day when we did I think it was like the post parade show that we did. He mentioned that there's also the homegrown quota, and he fits into that because he's a product of the academy. So it's not the main reason, but it makes sense also in that sense, because you had a player that can give you experience, can give you proper minutes too, because he's still fit as a 30-year-old, despite being 39. But he also fills a spot in the homegrown quota and a real spot. So that you have a player that can still have a say, when called upon,
Yeah, fair.
Well, just like you said, Joe, he's not winding down, is he? He's at Brighton. It's not like we're not trying to drag him out from being buried. He's literally at one of the best clubs in the league that we're off into. If he had nothing to do with the club, if it was just James Milner, we'd all be like, well, yeah, bring him in. Like, why wouldn't you?
True.
That's why Brighton did it.
This is facts. Like I say, he was only signed by Brighton last season, and they want to keep him. So there you go. Right. Okay. Let's go.
Sorry, Joe. Everywhere he goes, he brings success, doesn't he? So literally, he's always done it.
Yeah. James Milner to keep us up.
Conference League 2027.
I'm genuinely just like astounded by the response. That's all. It really, yeah. Anyway, is what it is. When you speak to people who know what they're talking about, it's all good. So I feel comfortable now. Right, let's talk about these awards then, and we're going to start straight from the bat. Player of the season. We will work our way from left to right. My right. So from Luke anyway, around. We'll go clockwise. Yes, Luke, player of the season, mate. Who's your player of the season and why, my man?
Yeah, so this player could have potentially won quite a few of the categories tonight, but I've only picked him in one, potentially two, and it's somebody who joined us this season and just only got his opportunity through injury, but he just captured the hearts of fans. He just worked so hard, and he almost transformed the centre midfield. I just think he's just so likable, and he's one I have no qualms with moving on to the next level in the Premier League. And given he's come from Bundesliga 2, it was a little bit of the unknown. But yeah, it's Tanaka, my player of the season. I could have quite easily have given it to a number of candidates, but for me, he has probably been our most important figurehead throughout the course of the season, I feel.
I think that's fair. For me, I think I'm still a little bit like I've said. I've written them all down. I've got a name here, and I just. But he's in for two. I'm going to go with what I wrote down, and I'm going to go for Joe Rodon. I do think he's right to feel hard done by, really, towards the end of the season for not picking up player of the season, really. I just think we're so used to seeing Rodon being 7 out of 10 nearly every week. And I think after the fact as well, I've sort of been more endeared. Is that the word you use to him after as well? Just seeing how much it meant to him. I think, yeah, I just think he's been a colossus throughout the season. He's been a mainstay at the back. Can't really think of many errors throughout the season. Obviously, weren't great for the goal against Plymouth. But outside of that, I don't really remember many errors, really. So I think for that, yeah, Joe Rodon, because I don't think he gets the flowers either. I mean, he does, but he doesn't get as much as the others, if that makes sense. Yeah. Lockie?
Yeah, this one probably the hardest one, to be fair. But yeah, I've gone same as Luke. I did Edge, like, it was really close with Tanaka. And again, it's about, obviously the player's an absolute joke, but it's about the person for me as well. It's just mint to watch. Like Luke said, he gives you a smile. He replaced that kind of rutter, that guy that just gives you a smile for different reasons, but just as a personality, and the way he's just come in, and from the first cameo, everyone was like, oh my God. You know what I mean? And he just from there, he just grew and grew. And this guy was not affected he couldn't speak the language when he first came. Didn't affect him. Didn't know anyone. Didn't affect him. Didn't know the league. Played in Bundesliga 2, which is much lower level. Didn't affect him. And he just straight away just settled in instantly. And I think that's such a credit to him. And since then, just how consistent he's been every single week, it seems. He's probably had, 3 poor games all season? And even then, that's poor for his standard. Probably one genuinely bad game, the Portsmouth one. But for me, he epitomises this team. And I look at last year, and the biggest difference is that midfield, and that's him. Rothwell obviously gets a small mention for that midfield as well, because he's played his part. But I just think without him in there as a constant, I just think we struggle a lot more. And he's going to transfer perfectly. He's just so good. He gets pressed, fine. He deals with it. When he's got space, he'll drive into it. Any pass forward, back, over the top, he'll do it. He can score as well. Absolute world is. Outstanding player, mate, for me. Are you muted, Luke? Joe? Couldn't tell if you... Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, Jack, and he's going... I was like...
I couldn't see because your mouth would be out
I can speak again. And it was me, sorry. Go on, Jack.
Is it me?
Yeah.
That's a weird clockwise, isn't it? How's that work?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
It's a labyrinth. It's a labyrinth, yeah.
Go on, Andrea. We'll go with you. Sorry.
Okay, fine. No, I agree. All the players you mentioned are great shouts. Honestly, to be fair, it's very difficult and for play to Farke and the players, because making it difficult for us, it's a statement in itself. Making it really, really difficult for us. Tanaka, I think Bogle too, but I've chosen to go with Manlo Solomon as my player of the season because of the expectations that were with signings, when we signed him. I remember saying he has the potential, if he's fit, to be the best player in the league. And if we look at the key moments in the season, he was always involved. Double figures, 10 goals, 12 assists. And if you look at the final games, the final run of games, the last 6, the vital ones where we needed to step up, 3 goals and 5 assists, So it was, I think there was a lot of debate throughout the season regarding the wingers about who should play on the left and who should play on the right. Calls about who should play in the number 10. I think Willie, and of course Ramazani had an injury. Dan James too is very different compared to Solomon. They all performed, but Willie had these ups and downs, throughout the season. Ramazani had an injury. Dan James was probably overworked, looking also at his body type and the way he plays, and by the way, he's improved massively, turning into his left foot too, going inside. But if I look at Solomon, I think among the wingers, he was the most consistent one in terms of performances and turning up on the day. And he got a lot of criticism, to be fair. So it wasn't easy. And even when we signed him, there was a lot of criticism and some doubts because of his injury record. He also posted a story recently about how he wasn't sure, and so that those doubts were fair, because he posted a story now that I saying I didn't know last year, 8 months ago, if I was gonna be able to play again, and now I'm a champion, with that goal at Plymouth. So among our offensive players, I think, apart from the number 9, of course, the wingers are vital in this system. We are a wing play team, and Solomon is a winger that is not just a 1v1 winger. We have a lot of 1v1 wingers, but Solomon is also a team player. Gets inside a lot, one touch, passes the ball, sprints into the final third. So it's a player that moves a lot without the ball too. And I think if I have to look back at the whole season, it was the most consistent one in terms of performances and in terms of goal contribution, in the team, with these goals, his assists, his key passes. So if it weren't for Solomon, it would have been Tanaka for me too. But for me, Manolo Solomon 100%. And we'll see what happens with him, of course. No.
Yeah, be interesting to see what happens with Solomon. Go on then, Jack. Finishing with you, mate. But player at season.
I still can't get away from Dan James, to be honest with it. I just think for
I'm glad you said
overall,
that, Jack.
you
Sorry for him. I'm glad you said that. I felt bad for him.
I know that there's a highlighted point in the I now can't think exactly when it was, but maybe about 10 games ago. But I just think he's pulled us through quite a lot. I also think he's the least favourable winger that we have, and I think he's probably the most prominent one we've used all season. So he's the one we've needed the most. And I don't know, I was just obviously watching, they loaded every goal, didn't they? And I think we do him a disservice, really. He scored some absolute pelters. The way he drives in, when Solomon cuts it across, the way he's driving in, you just get so used to it. Desperately getting forward to, get on end of stuff at back post, like one against Middlesbrough and stuff, where he just sort of ambles it in, but he somehow gets there before left back and stuff. He goes back the other way. I think it'd be really useful next year, which is not what this is, but I just think he's a little bit underrated. I think Farker really wanted to get him back towards end of season. He pulled us out of bag more than a few times, got loads of goals, loads of assists. To be honest, Tanaka pushes him close, but Tanaka didn't start the season. So that's where I've give James his little 5 or 6 games off on the basis that Tanaka wasn't there. And Rodon, I know Rodon is a well-worthy winner, but he's a centre-back. So it's like James, it's harder to be prolific in it as a right winger and keep putting the numbers up. And I just think you're asking him constantly to sort of make something of the game and change the game. And I think overall he did that the most out of everybody at the club. So yeah.
I think that's fair. I think you're right. Had we gone round and no one mentioned Dad James, we'd have had to give him an honourable mention. There's a few in the chat for Pirro. Scored a lot of goals, but there was a lot of times where, he just didn't do enough in games. But I understand why people would mention him with the amount of goals he's scored. But there were games where he ghosted for sure. But I think there's a fair cross-section there of the best players within the Leeds United squad. I'm quite surprised there's no Jadon Bogle from any of us, but he'd definitely be up there as an honourable mention, I think. But Sue's there, says Bogle.
We could have picked Joe, but realistically, we could almost pick anybody, and there's a good shout for any of our starting 11 this season, which is, it's a nice position to be in at the end of the season when we're talking about player of the season. There's so many different options and different reasons for those options.
Yeah, exactly. Mate.
We got relegated. We're trying to do this when we got relegated, and we're trying to think of anyone. Did we get Rodrigo? I think a few of us were on here when we did it. Talking about Rodrigo.
We are lucky for one thing, because there's a lot of awards left, so we can mention those players in some of the other categories, So we're lucky in that one,
Well, next one's goal of the season, and to be honest, right, I haven't sat through them 95 goals on YouTube. My memory's shit. So for what it meant, I've gone for Solomon against Plymouth. I just thought, for me, what it meant, the time. I even think it's a good goal. It's a good goal. I've watched that goal thousands of times now with music, attached to it and everything. It's just so beautiful. Road on, and then he gives it, and Nonto, and then it's inside to Solomon. And the pressure, the situation, what was riding on it, and it's a lovely strike. Maybe the keeper should have done better. I'm not too sure. It don't really. It's at a decent height, really, but there's probably been better quality of goals scored throughout the season, and the lads will probably remind me of some. But I think for me, because my memory is shit, and obviously just how big of a goal that was for me personally, I think, goal of the season for me goes to Solomon. So, Lockie?
Yeah, mine's a bit of a weird one. It's it just stands out. It's I can't remember who it's against, but it's Dan James where he hits it with his left and it goes into the top corner because it's the weirdest technique I've ever seen. His first touch is horrid. He kind of weirdly prods it, but it just goes straight into the top corner at 100 miles an hour.
I thought it was Plymouth because I wrote that down. It's Plymouth.
Right. Well, it was. Go on.
I think it's with his right foot though, isn't it? He takes a heavy touch and then he absolutely looks like he's not going to get there and he just leathers it.
Yeah, but you know which one I mean though. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
like, sort of stabs it, doesn't it? It doesn't look like it should generate that much power.
It's the strangest technique. It's the most Dan James goal I've ever seen in my life. It was unbelievable.
There was one too of Dan James. My memory is like Joe's, I can't remember the exact game, but there was one
with the left, by the way.
That's a brilliant goal.
The other problem is that I cannot remember if it's this season or last season, when there was that miss that he made in the area. Then, 1 minute later, same action and he scores.
That
was this season. This season. I think against Borough, maybe.
Yeah, it's Borough. Yeah, it is.
Borough, yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, that one's mine just because it stands out.
It's yours, Andrea. It's yours.
Oh, it's mine. Okay. No, I'm going for an emotional one. It's not the prettiest goal, but I think it was monumental in shifting our season around, and, I've chosen the Tanaka one at Bramall Lane because I think it was a catalyst of the whole season. If I have to pick one, it's that one. The emotions, the temperature, and the goal scorer, especially, Tanaka deserved that goal so much. And after that, 2 minutes later, that belter from Pirro, it was massive. So I think looking at the first half that we played at Bramall Lane, it was a very, very difficult game, very difficult one. It wasn't the easiest night for us. It was a bad performance. Second half, we completely changed the coat of the team. Entered the pitch with our elegant dinner gala coat, and we absolutely battered them. And that goal for the third one, that goal from Tanaka, especially late on, one of the many late goals that we scored this season, but I think that one was the best one, the ball hitting the crossbar or the post, I can't remember, but going inside, the expectation, the weight about it, has it gone in, has it not, and when it went in, it was absolutely massive, because they look shattered, the Sheffield United. We were flying absolutely fine, and it meant also one thing, I think in that moment, even looking at the first leg, that we played on the road against them earlier in the season, that goal was Leeds win at Bramall Lane, but also supremacy in Yorkshire, and that was massive. That's personified the supremacy of Leeds United over other Yorkshire clubs, because you could just stare amazed at the away end, jumping around, going bananas. So that goal has a special place for sure in my heart. It's one of the many goals that we scored. You remember the one of Adam Clayton, for example, at Upton Park, the back foot one against Bristol Rovers. It's one of it goes straight into that category. When you remember that goal because of the away end mainly, going absolutely bananas and mental. But it absolutely changed the shift and turned our season around. Gave us so much trust and confidence and push towards the end of the season.
Nice, like it, Andrea. Jack, you're up next, mate.
Yeah, man. There's loads, to be fair. I've tried to take emotion out of them slightly, but it's hard not to in it, because it is ultimately, they're the big goals, aren't they? Really, don't matter how they go in. But one thing I did notice when watching that video, it sort of puts to bed anybody that says Farke's tactically inept or whatever. The amount of similar goals we get. I know you know that, and you can sort of see the phases of playing stuff, but it's like these are carbon copies of each other. And like, even if they get a bit scrambly in the box, we're like getting tap-ins, and like there's ones where like Bogle's popping up in 6-yard box, Aronson's making a tackle in 6-yard box. There's like loads of these exactly the same, like causing carnage in 6-yard box. But I thought Solomon's edge at box against Preston quite recently, when we were like, and that's when Solomon really came back into the front. James against Luton, when Bogle dinked it forward. Do you remember that one? He clips it over the top, and then James dinks the keeper. That's a nice goal. Yeah. The one that Lockie said against Plymouth is my favourite goal, just because, like Lockie said, takes a bit of a dodgy touch, and then he just gets there and just slams it in. But I have to pick Tanaka's at Hull, when he just rifles it in. And one that I want to add to that would easily be it had we gone on and won the game. I don't want to bring Mez out in this, but that I remember that moment so big, thinking we need a player now to come home and get all that game, get a big goal, do something. And Tanaka, like, his first goal, it was probably the best goal we'd seen up until that point. Like nobody really shooting at edge at box at that point. And then Tanaka started the ball rolling, where people were like, oh, we can hit it from edge at box. We do have a few players that can do it. So it's Tanaka's at Hull, I think. It's just a shame we then threw the game away, but
yeah, it was a great finish, actually. That, yeah, it was a beauty. Luke,
well, if one of them lot already said it, then I'm lost at it. But yeah, no, Andreas already pre-mentioned it. That belter from Pirro was my
very well, my friend, very well.
I can't believe you speak better English than me. That's concerning, isn't it? But yeah, it was just because of the sheer. I could just take a breath. Beating Blades away. I thought that was it. I thought that was our turning point of the season, and I thought that was going to lead us on to break. I mean, I know we did break plenty of records, but I just thought we were just going to go on, and I didn't think we were going to make it as tough for ourselves. And if Blades hadn't gone on that losing streak, we could have been sat in a very different position right now, because we did go through a spell after that game, then and it made things tough for us. But at the time, Tanaka had just scored to make it 2-1. I think that was even already in injury time, and then Pirro just does that just to absolutely take the piss. It was just bragging rights. It was it was being able to go on social media and just give it to all their fans that had been given a stake. It was it just felt like a weight had lifted, and for me at that stage of the season, without hindsight, I felt, and call me naive, but I felt that was our season-defining moment that was going to move us on to win the league quite comfortably. But still a smashing goal. But he just does it so effortlessly as well. So for that, that wins me the goal of the season.
Can say as well, John? Sorry, Peru's got some really tidy goals. He just doesn't. Apart from that belter against Sheffield, he does that. Like there's what I can't remember who it's against, but where he sits someone down and then he just
in the box. Yeah.
It's such a nice goal that. And like even the finish against Stoke, and it was really foggy. And there's not much to that, but it's a really tight angle. He's just a proper like killer in front of goal. And you don't get goal at season on that basis, but pretty much every one of his goals have always got like the Peru finesse, haven't they? He does, yeah.
His mood.
Yeah. And then he just ambles off. He just sort of potters off like goals.
I wanted to just a short one as well. Firpo's header, just because it's good to see a fullback getting it box and scoring header. We don't usually see that in these days, do we? I mean, just the way he just ran it box. I'm going to head this. Jumped above everyone. Yeah, outstanding. That one.
Aronson scored a really good one, which hadn't been mentioned as well. The build-up play was that against Derby.
Yeah.
Ooh, where we started with the ball in our own half and we just literally took the piss, didn't we? It was very Bielsa-esque.
It's a good goal.
Yeah, it's Bright Park.
So many.
There is. And do you know what? If I could actually remember them, it'd be great. Yeah, I remember that one. I might actually have to go watch them 95 goals after and be like, oh, that's the one they meant. Yeah.
You'll probably be able to remember them next year, Joe, because there'll be few and far between, I think. So.
I'll remember every single one next year. Yeah.
All 4 of them.
Goals, innit?
Crazy.
A lot of bloody goals. Right, Lockie, you start us off. This is Breakout Star of the Season. So, folks in the chat, it's for a player who unexpectedly rose to prominence or significantly improved their performance throughout the season. So, Lockie, you start us off, mate.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jayden Bogle for this one. Unexpected. I didn't watch much from the year before. I didn't watch Sheffield United, to be fair, the year before in Prem, but you'd have believed that they was really bad if you listen to their fans, but that's why you don't. But he started off a little shaky, he didn't have much confidence, did he? Obviously, he's just come off a season where he's been battered every week. But the way in which, after about a month and a half, 6 weeks, it was just one of our best players every week. It was really good. And he didn't stop. How important was he in every build-up we did down that side? Goals, assists. Even defensively, he looked solid, working hard. And you could tell, like, as the season went on, he just got more comfortable in the team, more comfortable as a Leeds United player, and he just became more confident. And then at the end, he was loving it every time he drove forward, confident. And that's it for me. Like, there's a few you can pick for this, but for me, just the way Bogle kind of started a little shaky. He weren't terrible, but he was a little off it. He gave that penalty away, didn't he? Dived in a few times. He didn't quite get forward as much, but the confidence after about 4 or 5 weeks, just outstanding. And like we said, and by the end of it, it probably could have been in shout for player of the year. So just a short one for me, but Jayden Bogle, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Andrea?
Yeah, it needs a little bit of context, this one, because like you said in the final part of the explanation of the award, I've intended it more as the most improved player, in the NBA way, they give an award specifically to the most improved player in the NBA, for example. So this is the context. I think this player last season, he had his contribution both all around in the build-up. Okay, struggled sometimes this season too, but if you look at the player he was last season and the player he is this season, last season it was mainly about numbers. This season, it was mainly about intending and understanding how to help the team first. And that, also resulted in a higher goal contribution, in terms of goals scored and assists. And that player is Joel Pirot for me, because I think last season, it was mainly a player, of course, that was played out of position, because remember that in the first part of last season, it was Pirot in the number 10 and Rotter in the 9. Then they were switched around, they were switched by Fark. And this season, finally, we've seen Pirot starting on the bench, not naming the starting 11 at the start of the season, with Joseph named as the number 9 for the first game. And then he took back his place. He understood better how to move around, When he went to the ball, one touch, passes, and then moves around, Last season, he wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. In certain games, he struggled to read the game, okay, but compared to last season, completely different player. Involved better. And Fark has transformed me, When we signed him, me and Lockie too, we said it's not the ideal number 9 for Leeds. And last season he wasn't. He really struggled. He scored goals, all of them inside the area. This season too, he scored some belters, like we said, from outside, especially the one at Sheffield United, He's turning into a clinical finisher, a cold I call finisher. I'm gonna say finisher again because I don't want to say the other word, But yeah, he's absolutely stepped up to the next level, So that's the main reason
for me. Is something that stands out as well. You
Yeah.
mentioned assists, Andre. I just think like his pass when he's a bit deeper and he threads balls through is outstanding. The weight of it is, like when Pablo used to do it and the weight was just perfect.
That
For
ball
Rosa
for
like that,
Monto.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was unbelievable. That
especially
perfect, wasn't it?
in tight spaces, lads. In tight spaces too, inside the area, near the final third. Even in tight spaces, he treats the ball so well. And when he has the chance, inside the box. Look, for example, we can take as an example the goal he scored at Adol, the diagonal finish, with his left foot. There's other examples, and they did so well now inside the box and outside. And I think he's going to play a part in the Premier League too. Of course, not as the starting number 9 for me, but as an option from the bench, he has a good chance, to be the player that we need if we need to keep the ball higher, if we need a more technical player up and not the all-around number 9, because, of course, it's a completely different level. It will be the first time he plays in that level. So we need to see how he adapts, to the different intensity, to the higher physicality, the higher pressure by the defenders. But yeah, this season, I think he's one of the ingredients of the success Leeds had, the change in his movements, the change in his movements all around. There were the games where he didn't score, but compared to last season, there were games where he completely ghosted.
Yep.
This season, I think it was more similar to the games that he played in the second leg against Norwich. I think that game was the start of the new Pirlo, and he played in that role more, So it was the complete transformation this season after that first spark, that we saw against Norwich.
100%, and I think his link-up play has really, really improved throughout the season for sure. Jack, your breakout star?
It would be remiss of me, I think, not to pick Rothwell, to be honest. There was a period, and because he unexpectedly rose to prominence, I would say. Nobody thought he was going to get anywhere near. He was a 4th centre midfielder at the time. I know it was injuries brought him in, but then he was excellent. It looked like Farke were going to try and use him as a bit of a 10 just at the start of the season. It really didn't look like he was going to get any minutes, and then he ended up being, for quite some time, it was my absolute boyo. So he has to get in there somewhere, because I was like, Rothwell. I couldn't get enough of him. So, and just to be fair to him, just how easily he's sunk in. I mean, you could do that for, Tanaka's exactly the same, Bogle's exactly the same, but just in no time whatsoever, them two became the partnership. They were brand new to the club, both of them, and they were excellent together. And, they both understood the role. I think it's just obviously a knowledge of your positional sense and, your football sense, really, football knowledge, just being able to play together. And if you're both decent, you sort of instantly, you muck in together, don't you? So, and I think when you're playing good football, players like Rothwell can be good. But I just think he's had some massive moments as well. It's not like he's just been a good addition in the centre mid and stuff. He obviously a lot of assists from him, like in big moments, last minutes at game. He's come off at bench and he's affected the games. For a long time, Rothwell was my main man. So he has to get in there somewhere. So I would say Rothwell.
I think that's fair, mate. Luke?
Yeah, I actually agree with Jack on this one. I've gone for Joe Rothwell as well for breakout. No, I've gone against the context slightly. I don't think he was necessarily the most improved player. I just think that in terms of breakout, I completely, for reasons completely similar to Jack's, nobody expected him to play such a big part, and there was such an uproar that we'd signed him on loan. People didn't rate him. They thought he was going to add nothing and no value, and he did everything but that. So he did the opposite, and I felt we were a much better side when he was playing. Not just his set pieces, but his composure, the way he drove forward with the ball. Yeah, really, really good player. I wouldn't be against signing him as a squad player.
Mine is also Joe Rothwell. It has to be, because I definitely were one of those fans you mentioned who said it's a poor signing. We signed him 6 months after we wanted him. I don't see the improvement on Kamara.
What did you call him, Joe?
Yeah, I said he was shit, didn't I? I said he was shit.
Sorry,
I was so wrong. Like, I was wrong.
You were still bitter after the playoff final.
Yeah,
we can understand. Probably was your heart speaking. In that sense.
for me personally, he unexpectedly rose to prominence. Like he was that guy, right? Where it was like, well, Rothwell needs to start. Rothwell has to come on to attack them spaces that are being left. So for me, he is the epitome of that. For me personally, anyway, and he, for a period of time prior to him getting a knock, and obviously has seen out the season with Gruev and Tanaka, he was undroppable at times. I thought so. Yeah, for me, it's definitely Joe Rothwell. So
he fancied it as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
I know that sounds daft, but he knew his position, and I think he came definitely to play more than he did. And then when he got his chance, he took it like proper professional, really behaviour from him. And just how he was driving forward all the time and stuff. And we sort of lacked it a little bit. And Rothwell was
positive,
different.
isn't he? So positive.
He is,
like, everything's
different.
Yeah.
Completely, you couldn't have got so almost as polar opposite from Kamara, Joe. To be honest, I know you.
Exactly.
But he was everything we missed last season. Somebody to pick it up and drive forward with it. Or his first pass was I mean, probably not always, but 9 times out of 10, he was looking positively. He was looking in front of him. Do you know what I mean? And it's something we really, really needed, and that's we see that with Farke's selection. You know, picked him for predominantly for home games where we're going to be on top, and we should be, should be attacking teams. And I mean, we should have done that the majority of the season, but he just added something completely different. When we saw Gruev come in, we saw we were much deeper and a little bit more negative
as well, Luke.
Negative. I mentioned that.
Yeah. It was. We missed him when he weren't there for set pieces, I think. Right, next one then, folks, is Unsung Hero Award. So this is for a player that might not grab the headlines, but was vital to the team's success. Andrea, you're starting us off with this one, mate.
You already know, do you? What I'm gonna name?
I think I do.
Actually,
I think I do.
You already know. Yeah, it's the life of the party they're having at Vegas. Now in the Dominican Republic. It's my mate, mon ami, JUSTJOE Guilavogui. No, really, for real. I think Carl Darlow deserves a nomination too, but I'm gonna go with Guilavogui, of course, because Darlow had a great contribution towards the end of the season after he stepped in, like Parag, but in this case from earlier, But I think I'm gonna name Guilavogui because first and foremost, it's about numbers too. 16 appearances, Leeds United is unbeaten with him in the side. Every time he was subbed in, Leeds didn't lose a game, So we're still unbeaten with him. But I think he is the unsung hero because of the spark, the experience, the focus that he brought behind the scenes. Not so many people know of his contribution behind the scenes, but it was really like one of the figures that we are like Cooper, like Pablo, like Berardi, under Bielsa. We brought in when we needed a midfielder, because of the injury crisis. We brought him in, and he was a cracking player. Believe me, when he was younger and fit, he was a cracking player. He could get forward. He could shoot a lot. At Wolfsburg, he scored some cracking goals from outside. He was even capped by France, but he arrived with humbleness as an humble player, knowing that, okay, the best years of my career are past me. I remember his first interview, I'm going to have this opportunity. I already know Leeds. He mentioned Olivier Dacour, for example. So a literate, an intelligent man that knew that he was going to Top Arch to be like a mentor figure, an experienced figure, one keeping everyone in line behind the scenes, and like a counselor, a mentor, to the younger lads. And you can see that there's Byram, there's Bamford at Vegas, but you see all the stuff coming out of Vegas, is basically on Guilavogüi's Insta stories, It's like their big daddy, their big uncle, it's like
Big
that.
Daddy. That's got a different meaning over here, Andrea.
It's like their big uncle, It's like an uncle to them.
Quick change, big uncle.
Yeah, it's like a big uncle, So absolutely 100% a supportive figure around the dressing room, loved by everyone, and even a good person, because we've seen, I think it was in December, when he promoted his his project, his charity project that he has in Guinea, of the orphanage, where he has, I think, around more than 20 kids, that they study and grow down there. So it's also a proper Leeds player, in terms of also impacting lives outside of the pitch, and he epitomizes, side before self, because it's an absolute gentleman all around, and I think he deserves this award by me, big onk Gilavogi, yeah.
I think if you hadn't nominated him, mate, there'd have been something wrong. Jack, who's your unsung hero, mate?
It's a shame you picked a player, because I would have gone obviously Big Daddy Parag, wouldn't I? But
You can do, mate. You can do it. Don't have to be a player.
well, you've stipulated a player, and I've got my joking, so that'll do me.
What was it specifically about Parag that would have won the nomination for you?
I think it's obviously when he stepped in, isn't it? I think as soon as he stepped in and got Mez moved on, and took over the reins really to get the job done that Farker couldn't complete. From that moment on, and we do need to remember that he's, Gilavogi's undefeated all season. So is Parag. As soon as he stepped in, he didn't lose a game again. So he doesn't lose games, don't Parag. Hopefully, much the same come start of the season, next year. Farker obviously is the face of it, and then Parag, gets picks
pulling the strings
from
behind that like a puppet, man.
But on a serious note, my player's Byram, because he played loads of minutes, super reliable. There was an idea that Byram wouldn't be able to sort of provide as much as he did. We needed him a lot more than I thought we would have done. Obviously Firpo got injured. I think Bogle were out, worried for a couple of with a suspension or something. I just remember using Byram a lot, and he's forever reliable, available every week, always gives 100%. I was going to pick somebody else, but I think somebody else will, so I won't steal another.
I think we've probably got the same too, Jack.
Oh really? Yeah.
Well, I hope I have. Otherwise, I'm going to look all right, Dick.
Well, you're not, because I'll just back you up, Luke. Don't worry. But yeah, Byram, forever reliable, and I think it's mint as well. That older head in and around club as well. I think he's been excellent for us 2 seasons on bounce. Really, what a signing he's been really for Nolt. So
yeah, that's fair. Come on then, Luke.
So I actually had 3 for this for very different reasons. 2 of them are players, and the other one was obviously no, it wasn't Prague. It was Daniel Farker originally, but until I crossed it out and thought I read it had to be a player. But I think Daniel Farker deserves his props this season. Well, certainly over the last 2 seasons. Unsung's probably a little bit unfair, because I think as a fan base, we do rate Daniel Farker now, and I think the majority of us who understand football and don't try and decipher it onto spreadsheets do actually enjoy the football that Daniel Farker's played this season. However, because we had to pick a player, I was between 2, and one of them was going to be really controversial. Sam Byram obviously was one of them, as I just mentioned to Jack, more for him being around the dressing room, similar to Gilavogi reasons, but also the fact the amount of football he has had to come in and play for either Firpo or for Bogle as well. But my other one is going to definitely raise some eyebrows, and that's simply because he isn't the most aesthetically pleasing to watch at football. But he's been imperative to the way we've played this season, and that's Brendan Aronson. I think he's, people hate Brendy, people don't rate Brendy, and I fully understand why. He's frustrating to watch, but he has played the majority. I think he's played the 3rd most amount of minutes after only Rodon and somebody else. I can't remember. Third most amount of minutes for this season.
Could be Melly.
I can't remember. He was definitely 3rd on the list anyway when I looked. But yeah, just for his link up, just for the work, just for his sheer work rate. That having somebody in your team like that, whoever, if you've ever played to any level, even from amateur at any sport, having somebody that's willing to do all the dog shit and all the hard work and the running, it's a nice feeling to have, because if you're a lazy bugger like me, and particularly like Joel Pirro, the reason that Joel Pirro popped up in all the good positions, I would say, is because Brendan had done all the hard work. Brendan, Aronson had actually pulled defenders apart, or he'd already done the closing down, and that it just left Pirro and the wingers with far more energy than they probably should have at certain stages of the game. So yeah, for that reason and that reason alone, Brendan Aronson is my unsung hero of the season.
Nice. To be honest, I looked at these and I thought I championed him, and I was like, how can I get him in? And I couldn't find a way to get him in, to be honest. And I don't know if this really qualifies as an unsung hero, lads, but I did go for Joe Rodon, even though I said he was my player of the season. The only reason I say that is because I still don't think he gets nowhere near enough praise as a Dan James, an Al Tanaka, even Bogle at times get praise more than what Rodon does. Does that qualify, lads? Is that
No, it's fair. It's fair. It's fair because there's only one reason, you're not Italians. We rate defenders and praise them. In England, there's not. No, I'm serious. In England, there's not this focus on the defenders. I think we have Maldini, Cannavaro, all these great players. But in England, you value the talent and the offensive players more. And you have some cracking talents right now. In your national teams. But I think it's absolutely fair and smart too to point out that Rodon did what he did this season because it was absolutely massive. A Rolls Royce at the back, so absolutely fair to name him player of the season or also Unsung hero because he doesn't always get the recognition he deserves.
No.
Yeah.
So say like if you were to go for man of match, I bet he's got next to nothing when really he should have probably won at most. Do you know what I mean? Because he's most consistent and all that sort of stuff. And like you said, Sly says Joe wanted to choose his player of the year, James Trafford. I love that.
Can't have a goalie.
Yeah. Moment of the season then, Jack.
Does Lockie not get his go?
Nah, man.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. Sorry, mate. Lockie, go on. Sorry, I do apologise, mate. Go on.
It's a peculiar clockwise,
I'm like this waiting for Lockie's and then like, I've moved on.
It's all right, mate. I'm like, I've got an interesting one here, but no.
Oh, go on then.
Better
be worth it now.
Ethan Ampadu, I have for this. Unsung hero. Yeah. First of all, he's our captain, and I just think leadership. We've got 100 points. We've lost 4 games this season. He was in one of them, and that was against Burnley. He weren't in any of the other games because of injury. He is, for me, he's the head of this team. He's the captain. That's his role, and that's what he's done. He's got this team to be one of the most successful Leeds teams in history. So what else can you say about him? And for me, I think even when he got back from injury, just how quick each time he got back is an absolute joke. That's full credit to him. That his recovery is a joke. But not only that, how quick he needs one game. After that, he's back on it 100%. Do you know what I mean? There's no 3-4 week period. He's straight on it. I think that the commitment from him this season has been an absolute joke. With 2 knee injuries, he's put his body through hell. Every minute he played on that pitch, apart from when he came on once after the first injury where he was terrible. Apart from that, he's been absolutely outstanding. At the back as well, he's a CDM by trade. He's played at centre back. He's been, I think, in the running as good as Rodon back there. He's been outstanding. I just think he's underappreciated because he's not played as much this season. Again, I don't think enough for speaking about him, but I think in almost every game he's played, he's been outstandingly consistent, and he's a leader out there. And you can't get a team to be this successful without a proper leader. And he stepped up to that for me because that was a concern for me this season, was that leadership. And you can just tell now he's a different person to what he was, maybe even at the start of the season. He's grown into that armband. So I want to give him credit. I think when he's played, I think he's been outstanding all season.
And can I add a quick one too? I think he also threw away the chip that he had on his shoulders. When he arrived, he was absolutely labelled by some, he's had 3 relegations in a row, with Sheffield United, Venezia and Spezia, So they say, he's not a leader. Why are we signing a player that has 3 relegations, consecutive relegations on his curriculum, on his CV, And last season, we lost the playoff final. This season, it was absolutely monumental in terms of leadership. So for play, and absolutely right to mention him, Lockie.
I think so too, yeah. There's some in the chat don't even think he'll do it in the Premier League. You know what I'm talking about. It's a madness. I can't wait for him to rip it up. I think that as well, the fact that is he 24, 23, 24?
24, yeah.
He'd been around forever, so yeah. And what a captain we've got. He just gets it, and he's a really good captain. Right, Jack, this time it is you. Everyone's had a go. Moment of the season. So this is a defining moment, such as a match-winning goal, a critical save, or a team performance that clinched promotion. Can also be personal to you. Maybe you shared something in the ground with someone or whatever that was like, oh, yeah, this was it. So, yeah, over to you, my man.
I've got a few, but obviously I didn't realize I was going first. I don't want to nick everybody's, so I will just pick my one, and then if it comes back round, I'll mention him if nobody else does. But so I would have said the others, and then I'll just get straight to the point. I can't, for every other thing that I've got, there was so many little moments with my brothers and stuff, and in the ground, and or just in pub or whatever, massive moment. I don't think I can get away from the 7-0 at Cardiff. I've tried, but I'm going home from that game. I was absolutely buzzing. I just remember literally, because we were sort of, I don't know if we were up against it at that point, but there was still like this Farker idea, and we weren't necessarily drubbing anybody in that. And 7-0 were just like, I just remember being on the way home and literally being like, get me to my laptop. I cannot wait to do a video and like laugh my head off at everybody that don't think we're good enough, or don't think Farkers gets forward enough, or won't relieve the shackles off the team and stuff. So yeah, I can't get away from the 7-0 and the feeling of the 7th goal, because I remember being like, because I actually wanted 7. It got to 5, 6, and the whole crowd actually meant it wasn't a joke like we want 7. It were like 6 is amazing, 6 is doable, and 7 is literally taking the piece, isn't it? So the 7th goal at Cardiff for me was just like, this team, I love this team. It's the biggest moment for me.
Yeah, massive. Over to you then, Luke.
Yeah, a couple of obviously can't look past the parade and actually doing that for real for me this season. The other personal one was being at Chef Wednesday, beating them away, because one of my best mates is Chef Wednesday fan. He didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. That's another one. But the moment of the season, it's probably going to contradict myself somewhat here, because I didn't know whether this was the right thing to do at the time. And the moment of the season for me was actually the club at Farker or Parago, whoever it was, having the bollocks to drop your goalkeeper with so many games left and rely on somebody that hasn't had many minutes. And when he has had minutes for us in the cup, hasn't looked all that great. But I think it was obviously, in hindsight, it was certainly the right thing to do. But looking back, we needed a change. We needed a big change in terms of confidence. And I think that was the moment of the season.
I think that's a shout, mate, as well. Yeah, definitely. If that change doesn't happen, we don't know where we end up, right? That's the truth of it. Mine is a little bit personal, a little bit stick my fingers up to people as well, because I'm going to say the moment of the season was a point away at Luton. Because without that point away at Luton, we finished second. And I think when you consider some of the other top teams, what they got results down there, and the stage of the season we were at, and they were fighting for their lives, and they didn't actually go down until the last day, where they got absolutely peppered by West Brom. So yeah, I remember that time. I remember even seeing Jack in comments. Jack sort of came in comments to give me some moral support, because I was absolutely getting battered from pillar to post. And people just couldn't see how going away to a place like that is actually not a bad point in the grand scheme of things. So from a personal standpoint, that point was absolutely massive, because if we don't get it, we don't win the league, and we don't get the parade with the same magnitude that we got. We don't get, it's nowhere near as big of a day. I don't care what you say. It's nowhere near a big of a day if we don't win the league. We don't get Solomon moment at Plymouth away if it weren't for that point. So from a personal standpoint, I'm going for that point away at Luton. So get it up, you wankers. Lockie, over to you, mate.
Yeah, I've gone straight up the Solomon goal, Plymouth. There's been a lot this season. There's been some very good ones. But that's honestly one of the best days of my footballing life. It was perfect. Literally almost last kick of the entire season, the entire 46 game season. How many goals have we scored? We needed one more to win the league, and we did it in literally almost the last minute of the season. I mean, that's the last attack probably. That is just, no matter how many attacks you've had all season, it went down to the last one in the 93rd minute. And it was just Solomon just picked it up. Didn't do much. Just got the ball, turned around. Just thought, I'm just going to drive in there and hit it. Like, that's simple. And it goes in. And then it was almost like it was meant to be, you know, because it weren't like we had to do something crazy. He just got the ball, ran into the box, went, I'm just going to knock it through him and hit it into the corner. And from that, the second that goal went in, you know, watching the scenes, man, and then knowing that in a few days we're going to be at the parade, something I thought I'd never see, that set up everything for me. And I'm still on that. From that goal, I'm still feeling so good from that. I don't think football's ever done it this long for me at one moment. So that moment, mate, I called everyone after it. I called my dad, I called my mates, you know, everyone. It were, yeah. That was the moment that when we went up under Bielsa, we had those moments. I was like Pab and all that. But it was sad knowing that they couldn't really have that celebration. That was, like I said, one of the last kicks, one of the last attacks of the season. It's almost like we were being given it. It just felt beautiful. Yeah, that one for sure.
It was sort of the Pablo-esque, weren't it? You know, that Pablo, mate. Similar, I guess. Yeah, I think it is. Andrea, you're up next for moment of the season.
Yeah, I think I should resonate what Lucky just said. I think it was the moment of the season, the Solomon goal. I'm glad everyone mentioned something personal because I think after Stoke, after Bristol, you know, there were so many eyes, you know, and was so happy on a sporting side, but I had a lot of things going on the outside. So that week really was a tough week, to be fair. And looking towards the game, I wasn't really, there's the game. There's, you know, I was really tired in a certain sense, really after a long season. But that goal, you know, and really was a lesson to keep going till the last minute and keep going, you know. We weren't playing our best, you know, that day. We were struggling. I think many of them were probably knackered after the long partying, you know. But it took one moment of individual brilliance to take what we deserve, you know, because those players worked their asses all season and they deserved that title. And Falke deserved that title because now he has 3 titles. And he absolutely believed in that side, you know. I think, and I criticized him too after that game when we drew against Swansea, you know, and he said, I'm 100% sure that we're going to play in the Premier League next season. And we had just dropped down to 3rd, you know. So it was the perfect ending for us, for every one of us, because I know how much the people in the chat, every one of us cares about Leeds United and how much Leeds United affects our lives, you know, through the ups and downs, the navigation of life, you know. I talked about many people that this season have lost dear ones, about, you know, all the struggles of the last 2 seasons, you know, about the long closes, about, you know, last season, you know, we talked so much because we love this club so much, but last season really, it took a lot of toll. So after that playoff final, it was really, really difficult. And I think the Solomon goal healed that too, you know, because thinking about that playoff final and how last season ended was like, oh, it ended like that. But, you know, even last season team, they worked their asses, you know, they did everything they could. They had a bad game in the playoff final. But, you know, now this victory, this trophy, the winning the league, and also, you know, testifying that the Kaiser Chiefs are better than Natasha Bellingfield, you know, because I think that those celebrations were mental, you know. And also, like Lucky said, you know, I live in Italy, but I know about the connection. Lucky said that, you know, the connection of him and his dad, you know, growing up with his dad supporting Leeds. And correct me, Lucky, if I'm wrong, you know, but I think many in your family were, you know, or friends he had in the past when Man United friends.
All of them, but me and my dad,
support.
mate, yep.
Yeah, so it wasn't easy, you know. Talked about, you know, you and your family, lads, about what Leeds United meant for you and your deal once. So I was looking forward for every one of you to finally enjoy the parade together. And these scenes were, even for abroad, especially the pictures you sent, were priceless. So the moment of the season for me was Plymouth, the goal of Solomon, but the real moment of the season was seeing you get together and celebrating after all their work and the friendship that we have established, in all this time, and the chemistry that even aside of football that we have,
Didn't expect to need tissues tonight.
No.
Wait till we get together for the footy one. That'll be a beauty, won't it? Jack just didn't even bother turning up.
I did turn up.
Yeah.
When you say that, you say these things as though I wasn't there. So I was there. I was in a different place.
He was on the bus with Parag.
Yeah, exactly. I would actually arm around him like that, just getting in there.
Talking.
You the man, Parag. You the man.
Brilliant. Yeah, great moments from everyone. I think. Who's next? Was it you, Luke?
Yes. Yeah. If we
Can I
go
just
back round.
quickly mention, Joe?
Yeah, go on, mate.
The 100% moment from Farker.
Yeah,
I thought
that's
that was massively mint.
Yeah. 100% going up. Oh, what was it? How dare he? That's I just remember that.
All the carnage that it created, and even in my head it did. And then I thought, hang on a minute. No, Farker's the boss man. Like, you know, obviously with Parag, but he's got it here.
Yeah.
He means
Danny
it.
Boy, he got called.
Who do you think
Danny
you are?
Boy.
That was
So
it, wasn't it?
rude.
Who do you think you are?
Yeah, well, turns out Champione, isn't he?
Yeah. Sent my blood pressure through the roof.
But it needed to be said, didn't it? It
was
seemed like a crazy thing, and it's like, no. After a day, I was like, yeah, stand on yourself here, Farker. Let's go for it.
100%. It was fucking top notch. Fair play to the manager. Right, Luke, back to you then. Best new signing.
Yeah, again, I think we've got to be, a little bit thankful that this could have gone to a few, and that's testament to the recruitment. To bring so many new signings in, either loan or permanent signings, and for him to take to Fark's ways, the way his style of play, the lads, they're all one big, unity. And I think that does generally go unnoticed because we did bring quite a few players in, didn't we, at the start of the season? However, without naming every single signing that we made this season, my best signing is actually somebody we converted from a loan to a permanent, and that's going to Joe Rodon.
Right, it's a shout, mate. Well done. It's a left field one. I wasn't expecting it. Fair dues.
Clever that.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Very clever. Thanks. Yeah, very clever. Yeah. I like what you've done.
Don't get called that often.
Mine's Jaden Bogle. Honestly, he's been phenomenal. And I think he looks every bit a Premier League right back. Obviously, he's done his hard yards now in the Championship, Sheffield United, Derby, obviously with us as well. But, I loved Archie Gray. I thought he got an unfair battering. He can't play right back. He's not a right back. He had 2 poor halves all season. But it just shows you just how much of an upgrade Jaden Bogle was. So, yeah, I thought he was phenomenal. Obviously, special mention for Tanaka as well. But for me, Bogle was just... We saw, even from pre-season, straight out of the gate, but him and Mateo looked like they were going to link up, and only one of them continued that form. You know what I mean? Jaden Bogle just got better and better and better throughout the season. And I can't wait to see him in the Premier League because, I still think we won't be as swashbuckling, but I don't think the fullbacks are going to be playing, deep. I still think Farker will have a go. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to these getting in behind because the way the Premier League is now with everyone inverting and all that sort of stuff, I think there'll be space in behind for him to have fun with. So fuck it, let's go after him. So I can't wait to see Bogle do that. So yeah, anyway, that mine's Jaden Bogle. Lockie?
Yeah, same as my player at year. It's got to be Tanaka for me. Again, yeah, there's so many Rodon, Bogle, even Rotten, like there's so many, Solomon, God. But same reason I said player at year, just edges it for me. And again, £3 million. 3 million. that's just 3 million quid, and he's been this good.
Mental.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what to say, mate. I said it all with the Player of the Year. Exact same reasons. It's just been phenomenal all year for me, and as a person, he just seems absolutely quality as well. The way him interacts with the people, him and Nonto chasing each other after celebrations and all that stuff. It just seems like a good lad. The video where I'm producing an interview and he's just stood behind eating pizza, just taking it all in. It's just stuff like that. It's just brilliant. Yeah, so it's got to be Tanaka. 3 million quid is a joke.
Yeah, fair dues. Tanaka, Andrea.
Yeah, same. I think you have to name I name Solomon as player of the season, and it goes as a new signing, as top signing for this season too, because of what I said earlier. If you look at the last 6 games, what we need is to step up and get us over the line. Solomon stepped up his game and he carried us in many games where we needed a spark or a moment of individual brilliance or an assist, especially assists, so absolutely 5 of the 12 assists he made were in the final 6 games, so that's the reason. Unfortunately, I think a lot will depend on the price now. Like I said on last week, I think I won't spend. I had around £20 million. We need to spend realistically around 15, 16, not much more, because if you want to spend much more, there's other players I think you can spend that money on. It's the same as Rodon last season, and unfortunately, because of the Archie, you have to separate one spot. We also Rodon's will to play for Leeds played a part in giving us a better deal with Spurs, in terms of spending less than his value. But yeah, this season the top signing for me was Solomon, especially looking towards the final part of the season. So Todaraba, thank you very much for the contribution.
Yeah, 100% quality. I don't think we've had a bad signing really. Apart from Spence, and that was off-field issues, really, weren't it? More than anything. Jack, signing of the season, mate.
I can't not go Tanaka, just for Lockie as well. but no, in all seriousness, you can't. With Bogle, amazing. Solomon, amazing. Like every signing, Rodon obviously amazing, but we had Rodon, so that's why Luke's been clever. But Tanaka, you didn't know he would make the switch. Do you know what I mean? It's like Bogle is an English player. He's played in English football a long time. He's been in Premier League. You know enough about him. You know that they're going to bring a certain job. And I know Lockie smashed it out of the park with Tanaka, but there's still a massive element. He can't speak English. He's coming over purely just to...
Do you call it Kinglish?
Me?
Yeah.
Speak English.
Right. English. I thought he called it the King's English and just said Kinglish. I was like, I like that.
He can't speak English.
English.
It works regardless.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Standard English, yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot riding on it. It was a difficult signing. I think if it had come over, if it had not been Lockie's choice at Tanaka and it had been a player of a similar standard, and he'd have come over and not really hit the ground running, I don't think anybody would have thought anything of it. I think they'd have thought, no, Tanaka's still got some potential in him. It just so happens that he came in and he was just flawless from like the first cameo that he had in that 10 minutes. So it has to be Tanaka, really. And just like you said, with the 3 million, it's absurd, to be quite honest, isn't it? To pay 3 million for that, what we got out of him this year.
Yeah, definitely. There we go. Some great picks there.
And he will be learning Kinglish.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm very glad this Japanese player has learned English.
What the NPC was that?
That's Kinglish. NPC, yeah.
Are you sure you're not from Barnsley, Andrea?
No, I am not John Parkin.
Do you remember when Leah Francis, Keith Lemmer, used to say that about Gino De Campo? He's from Sheffield, man. He used to show pictures of him whip it and that.
We should do that for Andrea.
Yeah, exactly.
Get his mock-up of him with Kez walking down the street.
Whip it and a ferret on a bit of string. Yeah. Right, fan favourite award.
You look a bit like Lee Francis.
No, I get it all the time, and I don't, man.
Do you get that? No, you do.
Yeah, because I'm from Yorkshire and I'm ginger, and they go, Keith Lemon, and I'm like, oh, right, I hadn't heard that one, yeah. Fan favourite award is the last one, folks, for the player who captured the hearts of supporters through passion, personality, or a memorable performance. I'm starting us off, and I haven't given him one tonight.
Thankfully.
Pause. But I haven't given him an award tonight, but he's definitely captured the hearts of all supporters, and that man's Al Tanaka for me. He's definitely the fan favourite. Straight away, he was in the door. 2 minutes, he got a chant. I know it's because his name's easy and all that, but I just think,
it's that easy. We don't say it right.
Jack
it wasn't
mentioned
2 minutes.
though, it's easy to do a chant around and all that sort of stuff.
It wasn't 2 minutes though, was it? It was walking into the ground. If nobody had even watched him warm up, and he was getting, that's all. That's my only point about the chant. It's a brilliant chant, but
but he's been immense, hasn't he? So he's been immense. He deserves the acclaim that he's getting from Leeds United fans, and also I see a lot of it, unfortunately, from Tacticos that don't support Leeds, that have about 5 different favourite teams. They all like Tanaka as well. Do you know what I mean? So I think he's a fan favourite outside of Leeds United fans as well. So yeah, for me, Al Tanaka, fan favourite. Lockie, over to you, mate.
I mean, I'm obviously Taka, but I'm going to say someone different. I'm going to give Ramazani a little shout for this one. Just look, I think he's a fun player. Yeah, he's not played as much, but he.
I couldn't help but chuckle, man. And I was like, "Is he fucking?" Sorry, go on.
He does backflips, mate.
This isn't the Tactico award.
No, I'm talking about his expected backflips, not his goals. Don't worry.
Sorry, go on, mate.
It's just some personality, isn't he? He captures people's hearts. I mean, at the celebrations, all the videos of him dancing. That's what it's about. That's you were enjoying his moment. So, I mean, if we're talking about generally, yeah, obviously Tanaka is outstanding, but I just think he's a little different. Like you said, all the celebrations at the parades, the dancing, all the videos of him. When he's in Vegas,
and the descriptions too, the captions too.
Yeah, all that stuff, and just the fact that he's just a fun player and he does cool backflips as well, which I like. When the last time we had a backflip at Ellen Road? Ever? You know what I mean?
Does Robbie Keane count? It's not a backflip.
No, that was a forward roll.
It's a cartwheel
that's his
first.
trademark.
My mum would have told me that were a backflip back in
That
day.
that was a cartwheel into a forward roll, and then a
Yes. Backflip.
I'm trying to think. Have we? No.
No, exactly.
Didn't what's his face do backflips? Jordan Bataka.
Potentially.
Maybe.
What about
Yeah,
Hadi
lots of
Sacco?
colours.
Did he? So
Yeah, somebody like that. And there was somebody else as well.
Dukara, maybe.
Adrian did one on the floor, didn't he?
Yeah.
Could it have been Solomon Dukara, actually?
No, Dukara was the right stick set, man. There was no chance he was getting over.
He had a big ass, didn't he? Massive ass.
He's not getting over. No chance.
Big
He'd have to do a lap
He did a
of move.
backflip, didn't he, against Sunderland? That counts, doesn't it?
Who was it who used to do a backflip?
I'm looking and looking.
I don't know. I don't think we did.
Difficult.
We did. I'm sure.
Jonathan Brooks says Trezor Candle.
Nah,
Yeah,
it was huge.
I think so. I'm asking ChatGPT that some people use to do scouting reports apparently these days, but can be useful, for facts, history, that kind of stuff. But yeah, maybe that one. But yeah,
It would definitely. I'll tell you, it wasn't Enoch
I
Shawanda.
think in the 90s, someone. I can't remember who. By the way,
Anyway,
mine
let's move on.
mine was he's still alive. He's Altanaka, Altanaka, absolutely fan favorite, and a great character to have around because of his hard work, his relentlessness, and his humbleness. When they wanted to at Plymouth do the pictures around with the trophy, he didn't want to have the picture with the trophy. It's that humble. I remember when he cried. After that big result, because he was exhausted, and so you see the magnitude of the play. The Japanese people, different culture, of course. They are one of the hardest working players you can find, because they have the culture of hard work, and if you remember all the greats in history, Hidetoshi Nakata, Junichi Inamoto, Yuto Nagatomo, all those kind of players, they were all hard workers,
That is good.
Shunsuke,
That is good. Them names you just mentioned there in that pronunciation was pretty impressive, mate.
Shunsuke Nakamura, all those kind of players, In Italy, there was like Takayuki Morimoto. No, by the way, I just went yesterday to Gab Sushi, and I had some words with my friend Roger, who owns this restaurant. So that's why I know the
Roger, the sushi shop owner.
yeah. No, yeah.
Roger,
He's basically a Chinese man born in Brazil, So his full name is Rogerio Lin Wang. Yes, the Portuguese name and the Chinese surname, And he owns a Japanese restaurant, so you see the mix. Yeah.
I like it, mate. I like it. So, Ao Tanaka, Jack, you're up next.
I've got to give it to my man Firpo, I think. Can't help myself. Just think he probably is going to be his last swan song in it, and I think he's been ace. And I think everybody loves him. He's like the cult hero, isn't he? Everybody loves his chant, and it's a long chant as well. So, it takes a lot of getting through. It's not as punchy as other chants mentioned. So, and the arc that he's been on with club and stuff, I think he's a fan favourite. So yeah. I'm off with Firpo. But it's impossible not to say Tanaka, in fairness, because he was instant with it. But yeah, I'll go with Firpo, just switch it up a bit.
And his family as well, man. Firpo definitely for me. What a journey, by the way. What a journey I've been on with him, because I think we all have, though. He was dead. He was rubbish in the Prem, weren't he? He was absolutely rubbish, and I think the majority of fans are like saying, let's get him back. But the family bit was like Tanaka's family on train and that. Do you know what I mean? I bet they didn't know what hit them. So yeah, I think Tanaka. But fair shouts for everyone else. I think that's it then, lads. I think we've worked through.
I'll have a go if you want.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Just trying to cut me off.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. I apologise, man. I'm out of practice. I'm out of practice.
It's somebody I haven't mentioned yet on any of my categories, and I think I'd be doing him an injustice if I didn't mention him. And I think this was probably his most suited award for me. It's Ampadu, just because of, obviously, the celebrations, but also how we were clamouring for him back when he was injured. Just that, and somebody mentioned him earlier as unsung, I think. And the reason for that is his leadership skills, and those leadership skills are skills that you can't really be taught on a football field. That you're either a natural or you're not. And yeah, just how much we missed Ampadu. The very fact that he'd played his best position. He didn't play for the majority of the season, and for him to come in and do that at this level, and captain and champion a team up to the championship, up to the Premier League from the Championship as champions. I think he's, and then the antics on the bus and that. Can't really argue against that.
No,
Joe, I think we need to just do one more just to get your man Gruevin, because you've not mentioned him tonight, which I'm very.
Or Trafford.
Yeah.
Trafford, yeah. I don't know what
best Bulgarian. There you go.
Yeah,
Who's going to win
best Bulgarian? Best Bulgarian. I think we might not
Bulgarian.
I don't think we might not see. I think he might be sold in summer, to be honest. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, big up to Gruev. Big up to them all, really. To be fair, boys. Just quick one before we do finish. Just 5 minutes. Take us up to an hour and a half. There's been a bit of transfer stuff coming through. Sorry, this is fucking brilliant. Swear, man. That's brilliant. Sorry, I couldn't. Yeah, by the way, Andrea says confirmed Candle as the other backflip celebrator. There we go.
He did a forward flip. He did a somersault. It wasn't a backflip. There's a major difference there. One's back. One's backwards,
mate.
One's backwards and one's a somersault, which is forwards.
Right, yeah. There's been some transfer stuff over the last few days. Any that sort of tickle your pickle? Any that you're hyped about? We've seen Beto, Soufal. The other bits are like a little bit shitty. I've been reporting them because it's my job, but there's nothing really with any note. But the Beto one, the Soufal one that came from Alex Crook at TalkSport, he does get a bit right, to be fair to him. Any that you like the look of, lads, or is it a case of just wait until? I think I did a bit of research and had a look when the retained list was out, and it was out the second week of June in the last 3 seasons. So I think, but obviously the transfer window opens on the 1st of June for like 2 weeks, I think, for the Club World Cup. So we might see some there. It might come earlier, but I think it's a case of waiting it out. But has any you've looked at?
What did I say today? In the group chat, I said second week of June. It's too early right now. I think all these names, I like Soufal, for example, but all of these are agent talk, especially for the players out of contract. I will like Soufal, to be fair. I will like him. There's also been some unrealistic names for me thrown around recently. But yeah, it's too early, I think. Now there's leagues that haven't finished yet, in Europe. There's still the playoffs. The Premier League hasn't finished yet, so it's still early, and I'm glad you mentioned the retain list, because first and foremost, especially the newly promoted teams, I need to sort out who they want to retain and who they don't want to retain. When they have a clear idea, clear mind after having talks, holding talks with the players that they want to retain that are out of contract or not, they have a clear idea. And I think the real transfer window will start in the second week of June, like, always. This season, there's also the Club World Cup, in the United States, so it might change slightly, but I think right now all the names thrown around, some good names, to be fair, but it's all agent talk in my point of view, trying to promote their players, of course, and fair play to them, because it's their job, in the end, try to raise their profile, but it's too early for me right now. Much like that.
Is Soufal not a right back?
He is, mate.
Yeah.
But I think we need bodies.
We probably do need another. I mean, probably. Jadon Bogle's going to be all right in some games, and exactly, you're going to need a Soufal type player in other games. So
he can play left back as well, though, can't he? Soufal has helped out in left back.
Maybe, I'm not too sure off the top of my head, mate.
Not as a starter, obviously, but I just want players like that are, competitive,
committed. Yeah, he's a type of player you want, isn't he?
He's a Premier League footballer, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's only.
I want to see what's happening at Liverpool, man, because I was looking at it today. Obviously, I saw a thread of Liverpool fans, and the likes of Joe Gomez, the likes of Tsimikas, even Harvey Elliott, they're saying, look, we'll be moved on. And I look at players like that and think, I'd love someone like Harvey Elliott, probably we don't get, but I wouldn't mind someone like him. And even Joe Gomez can play anywhere across the back four. I know he has injury issues, but there's players like that'll leave some of these clubs in summer. So just gotta, and I do trust the board. I really do trust the board. That's one. I know I moan and bitch during the window, and I think they can do more. But what they've given us so far from a recruitment perspective, they haven't missed a beat. Genuinely haven't. To be honest, we
need to experience this first thing. For me, I think it's really important.
Yeah,
I think you get them early before pre-season, get them in training, on the toes, get them in. If it is a Soufal or whoever, a Milner, whatever that is, get them in there, get the young players integrated with them. So that's important. I'm sorry, we're not getting Davis. We're not getting David. Sorry, we're not getting Delap. We're not getting Gallagher. These guys are going Champions League teams. We are good, but we're not Champions League, unfortunately. We just got to the Premier League. But there's still some outstanding players, and I'm sure in a few weeks' time it'll kick in properly. But yeah, Soufal would be a good one for me. I like Tsimikas as well. I can't say his name, apologies.
Yeah, Tsimikas.
I do like him.
Kostas Tsimikas.
Yeah.
By the way, I know it's not Leeds related, lads, but I want to hear what you think about. I think the treatment that Liverpool fans had for Alexander Arnold is insane, to be fair. He's not going to a rival, He won everything with his boyhood club. Now, rightly so, he wants to have a different experience, and they're booing him like he's living for Man United or Everton. For me, it's really
I don't think that's all. I mean, we see a snapshot of dickhead fans online with every club, Andre. I wouldn't.
No, but did you hear round, Luke?
I did. Yeah, I did. And I
Did
think
you?
it's very, very. I think it's unfair. But I'd do the same to somebody like Jack Harrison.
But this is so. I tried to think.
I'm just joking. I wouldn't do that to Jack Harrison.
No,
Nobody skipped a beat there, so I was like,
because I didn't want to go. I didn't want to get back into a row with you about Jack Harrison, Luke. I can't do it.
You know what though? The only thing I could liken it to from a Leeds perspective would us be booing Gray, something like that. Maybe it's not as deep as that, but I just
KP,
don't think
when he went to City, it'd been like us booing KP probably. That's probably the biggest similarity.
So, I think it's harsh. It is harsh, but
very harsh. I seen him burning the shirts and that, and making songs. I get it. Like,
I have loved them AI podcast though with him and Bellingham. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You tell him, babe.
You tell him, babe.
I think though we could do it. You know, before we get ahead of ourselves. When we were a powerful club, there was some serious wild. You know, Hasselbank got. Everybody were burning his shirt and stuff. It's not like we're in.
Smith went to Scum.
Yeah, so but that when we were CAC, to be fair. I mean,
different reasons, yeah.
Yeah, but you know, so I'd tread carefully because you know there's a fair few booers in. You know, Wobber got booed when he ran on the pitch at the end of the season. So you know,
even I thought that was harsh, and I think he's shit.
Yeah.
But I thought
well, he's shit, but he hadn't even featured. He's not even been in the way, the big goon. So it's like there's no need to boo him. Do you know what I mean? It was like we're going up. So I just think, you know, I'd tread carefully before we start sort of judging Liverpool fans for booing Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I don't care about either. So
what about, I tell you, just another quick one before we leave. Egan Riley going to Strasbourg and Esteve wanted by some top clubs. So Burnley and then Trafford as well. They might be losing their three key defensive players. I know, right?
I think that's one thing that I would say as well. I'm confident with the 49ers is now that we're in this position, we're not a selling club. We're in this position, and you know we've got assets that we value as a fan base, and they're quite switched. I think they'll be quite swithed on with that. Look, the grey stuff, the Rutter stuff, the Somerville stuff couldn't be helped. You know, if reports are led to be believed. So. So yeah, I don't think we'll be. You know, we're not in the market to start selling our best players. Whereas Burnley, you could argue, probably will. I mean that Egan Riley's out of contract, isn't he?
He's going to Strasbourg.
Even Brownhill's out of contract as well.
Brownhill's out, so they could lose arguably their best 4 players from last season and to replace those going into a tougher league. It ain't going to be easy, is it?
No. Definitely not.
I really
feel the rain on your skin. No one.
I really hope Trafford stays at Burnley though, and watch them get thumped every week and just be.
So we can get player at season in the Premier League.
Yeah, just to literally just to be able to come on final word every week and just say, have you seen how many goals Trafford's conceded?
We shall see. Right, folks, that's it. We've gone over an hour and a half. That was our final word player of the season awards. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, what will happen over the weekend, I'm not too sure. I think it's a case of waiting till 1st of June and then things will really start to kick into gear. But I will bring you any news as it happens, if indeed there is any out there. It's a bit thin on the ground at the minute. So, yeah. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, hit that notification bell. Make sure you check out Ought to Know Better with Luke and the gang. Make sure you check out Lockie Leeds for your scouting players and stuff like that. Jack, make sure you check out Jack City for all the best beats in the content creation game. And also his Leeds United content. He does a live stream on a Thursday still. Are you still doing it in the off season, mate?
Yeah, man, I will be doing, yeah.
The underlap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I drop in from time to time. It's always great chatter in there, so make sure you go watch it. And Andrea, looking cool as ever. Is that an Argentinian shirt, mate, you're wearing? I did think it was. Yeah. Big up. Make sure you go follow Andrea on Twitter as well. And everyone in the chat, it's been a great season, but it's all about next now. Big up to Oliver, Southfair, Michael Smith, Susan Geordie, who Luke met, and Lockie met as well, actually. Rick in the chat as well. He was on last season. Luke P. Everybody. It's been great. Premier League now. That's it.
Was that when Jack didn't turn up?
Yeah, he didn't.
I was there.
I was there. Where is Jack? And then I just remember Ming coming in my chat going, he got it on Ed by they.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it hurt.
It hurt. Right, folks, we'll see you in a bit. Peace out, Premier League League.